Welcome to Unbiased Recovery, sponsored by Meta Addiction Treatment. I'm Ed LePage.
I am Casey Hurley.
Well, welcome back. It's been
Couple 2-3 weeks.
a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We've missed
Holidays.
all the wood.
Missed the smells and the sounds of the studio.
I have.
Yeah. Did you miss me?
No.
No, we just talked about that.
No. Slightly.
It's just
A scotch.
it's enough.
It's busy though during the holidays.
It is.
You know,
I got we got stuff going on. You have a family. I have
people that.
a bearded dragon at my house. I got to give crickets to.
Do you really?
Yeah. A roommate of mine had moved out and left the bearded dragon there. He said, "I don't want this."
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So I named him Gary, and I give him crickets.
How do you know it's a guy?
I have no idea, but his
Okay.
name is Gary.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
you called it him, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, do you bring a bearded dragon to the vet?
I haven't yet, but I want to get him a leash. He doesn't listen well.
Does he have ears?
He has like little holes on the side of his. Yeah, I think that's for listening.
Maybe you put like a little like paper to catch the sound.
Right. He's just. I think his lack of listening is due to his inability to hear correctly. Selective hearing.
Yeah, maybe a hearing aid
Yeah.
or two.
I'm gonna Google that. Amazon's got to have it. Amazon's
Bearded dragon hearing aids.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the videos that come up for that.
Yeah. There are some out there. I guarantee you.
Yeah, it's probably a lot like this podcast, Trainwreck.
Yeah. My life. Whoa. Look at all these coincidences.
Yeah, you know, I mean, here we are. It's this will inevitably come out a few weeks from now, but it's
Right.
January 6th. Capitol Hill has been stormed,
It's been stormed.
which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into that.
No, but it does talk about how weird times are.
Yes, and that's sort of what we want to touch on. And like, you know, in all honesty, like we can sort of talk about that a tiny bit, but
Kind of like where people's mental states are.
well, and also like this idea that like we're powerless over what other people do.
Yes,
You know
that
what I
has
mean?
been a huge part of my recovery is realizing that not only my powerlessness over drugs and alcohol, but
Powerlessness.
my meniscus, but the powerlessness that I cannot control other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can only control how I react to something.
So I think for somebody, and we've talked about,
Yeah.
you know, like a first step out of Alcoholics Anonymous, out of
Correct.
Narcotics Anonymous, very similar. This idea that like I am powerless over drugs and alcohol means that I cannot control the amount of alcohol I consume or drugs I consume once I start consuming them,
Right.
nor can I control my mind once it starts to think and obsess. Really, the
Right,
key
the
word
obsession,
obsess
yes.
over drugs and alcohol. Once I start to obsess over drugs and alcohol, I will use them.
Yes, and there is literally nothing that's going to stop me short of, being arrested or physically removed from a situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And even then, I have never. I don't think I have ever experienced a mental obsession without eventually using.
No, I never have.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if, say, I'm in treatment or some sort, I'm removed from the situation. If I'm obsessed, eventually I will pick up.
Yeah, so like the reason why I can't say that full-heartedly is like, you know, the first few weeks or so of me getting sober, I was in, a beautiful location in northern New Hampshire,
Right.
Surrounded by a bunch of other people that were actively trying to work. Most people were actively trying to work a program of recovery,
Right.
or at least start working a program of recovery. And there was like that sense that like, somebody came up with some elaborate scheme of like what they wanted to do to go get high. And
Right.
like, then I thought like maybe I should do that. And like, so like, was that the obsession? Was that not the obsession?
It's like teetering on
Yeah,
it, kinda.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
But-
not full blown because I
like-
have up and left places
Exactly.
due to the
Right.
obsession.
So like, I've had really intense thoughts about using without doing it, but
Yeah.
the mental obsession being that like once the idea of getting high comes into my mind, I cannot reason it away.
Right.
Right.
No matter the consequences that I've suffered in the past, too. It's like a rational, sane individual would see these are the consequences that have happened in my life due to my drinking and drug use, and it almost doesn't even cross my mind, or when it does, it like the relief that I'm seeking outweighs those consequences,
Right.
no matter how great they are.
Well, and so the reason that we sort of bring up the Capitol Hill thing, even though like, well, obviously like it's sort of on our minds because we're sort of, you know, like we're at work and then got into a car and a friend of mine texting me about it, and you know it's you know news to me within the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, me
And
too.
you
I
know
had no idea.
so it's sort of preoccupying a little bit, but the idea of like that highlighting the times that we're in right now, right? Coronavirus, COVID-19, however you want to call it, pandemic, whether or not you are a, you know, person that is, you know, masked up all the time, doesn't leave the house, whether or not you're a person that doesn't care, you're going to go live your life anyways, you are powerless over this.
It's happening whether you want it to or not.
Exactly.
And there's literally nothing you can do about it.
And it's happening whether you want to it or not.
Right.
That was how it was for me getting high.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten high like like literally against your own will? Like I don't want to do this, and you do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a scary thing.
I've like borderline, if not cried while getting high because
Absolutely.
I was acting in a manner which I did not want to be acting. Like, yes, I wanted to get high because I wanted relief.
I wanted relief, but I knew it's like deep down inside, like
It wasn't going to give the relief.
yeah. But it's all my brain tricked me into thinking that like this is what you need to feel okay, and in turn it was just like making my life worse and worse. And I wasn't even getting relief, you know, for a long time after.
Well, yeah, and I think like a lot of people will say like drugs and alcohol saved their lives because it stopped them from committing suicide because like it gave them some relief, right?
Yeah.
And like as you know, as a drug addict and alcoholic, like without a proper solution in my life, I am a relief-seeking missile.
Anything.
Anything and everything.
Yep.
Like it doesn't matter.
Anything to not have to sit with myself.
Right.
I have the inability to like even sit down and watch a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I remember I was with my buddy one time and we were talking about like, you know, getting high and stuff and I was like, dude, the main thing it's like when I'm not high, like I just want to relax. I just want to sit down and be able to watch a movie and not crawl out of my skin.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean. Like it wasn't that like it was funny, we were like talking about it on the way up here, like even like it so like there's the time in college where like I was going to a party to get fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was gonna go there and I was gonna drink as much as I could, stand outside the cocaine room until somebody let me in.
Dead.
Yeah.
Like don't let him in.
Yeah, like
gonna do it
I'm
all.
getting in there. But like you know, and whatever else was going on, but like you know, like most college kids go to a party, at least guys that I know,
Yeah.
being like there's gonna be some girls there,
Right.
Blah blah blah
Gonna
blah.
have a good time. You know what I mean? Like hopefully the end of the night
You know,
ends up in my favor.
Yeah, somebody else is in my bed,
Right, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Or I'm in somebody else's bed, and that just was not the case with me.
No,
You know,
I
like,
wanted to get obliterated.
Yes, I wanted to not be like. I remember like telling my friends that I want to be so messed up at the end of the night that like I can't speak English,
Yeah.
and like meaning that.
Yes, my sole like purpose in college for myself was to just get as absolutely annihilated as possible as often as possible.
Right. And so like but at a certain point in time drug and alcohol use to me ceased being that. Ceased having any of that allure, any of that like I wanted to get so messed up, like not to have a good time, but I wanted to get so messed up that I didn't have to feel like me anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I was not okay with like myself.
Right. It's not a fun place to be.
No, and it's scary. Like when I got to the point of where like I actively wanted to stop using drugs and I couldn't, that was scary
Yeah.
for me. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to do this anymore, and yet like I don't know of any other like solution or lifestyle. Like I literally just I couldn't stop.
Well, and I think that's how a lot of people feel today.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I don't want to have to not see my family anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wear a mask anymore.
Right.
I don't want to have to
Stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
And like
we
not
got a
go out.
6-foot table here.
Right.
You know, like you know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to like be at work amongst a bunch of people that like there's people there that I've literally I don't want to lie. I'm pretty sure there's people there literally that I've never seen their full face.
What, clients?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, we've talked about
I mean,
that.
we have to ask them to put their masks on quite frequently.
Right,
So, like,
of course.
you know,
No,
but like
but-
on a, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like, it's
the same thing is there's clinicians that I've never
You've
met.
never- yeah.
I've never met them.
exactly, and it's like you don't know whether to fist bump, shake hands, stay away. Like, you know, somebody will come in for a hug, somebody will back off. You know, somebody walks. It's just it's a bizarre
It's very
time.
awkward. It's like, are you? And it's like you don't know if someone else is comfortable with what's going on.
And so it's like, I think the dog barking. No,
Yeah.
what's going on?
There's a fight. It's a dog fight. Michael Vick's outside.
But I think that like the world that we live in today is really showing and highlighting the powerlessness that not only drug addicts and alcoholics have in their life, but that we all have.
Yeah.
Right.
Lots of people don't realize how powerless they are until they experience some feeling of it.
Right.
And this is, like you said, like opened that up to the world.
Right. And I think it's interesting too because it's created a lot more drinking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
a lot of people.
Liquor stores have been essential, right? You know, they
It-
stayed
it-
open.
well, and you know, I mean, for an alcoholic that's not willing to go to detox yet, they are.
It is essential.
You know?
Absolutely.
Can literally die.
Yes.
So, drug use has been something done in isolation.
Yes, which is scary. The overdose rates have, like, I've looked into some of the statistics for that.
Raised. Right?
Yes,
Risen.
absolutely. Far more prevalent.
It's and I would imagine like new use is, you know, like
yeah, out of boredom, out of like fear,
whatever,
depression.
whatever it is. And it's just we live in a really, really crazy time right now, where, you know, on a consistent basis, like we are faced with, you know, things being imposed upon us that we really have no choice in.
Right. Yeah.
You know, yeah, sure, like somebody could go along the lines of like, well, you could have voted for somebody different, blah, 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 blah.
Right,
but
in the
like,
grand scheme of
that's like the
things.
same idea as like, well, that alcoholic could have never drinking alcohol. Well, yeah,
Right.
sure.
Of course,
But like,
but that's irrelevant. It's
Right.
when I picked up my first drink, I wasn't thinking like, "Hey, I'd like to ruin my life until I was 31 years old."
yeah, you weren't planning on it ending with a syringe.
Yeah, absolutely not. I told myself from when I was like, I will never do drugs. I never thought I would end up, intravenous heroin addict. I
Right.
never thought that in my life.
So it's just yeah, like you know, we make these unintended decisions that have enormous consequences in our lives.
Right.
You know, but yeah, and for me, anyways, the key to that powerlessness and the key to dealing with that powerlessness is sort of, well, it's multifold, but a lot of it around it is acceptance of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like acceptance of the idea that like I don't have power in this situation.
Yeah. And that was a huge I mean, that's obviously a huge issue in any alcoholic or drug addict's life, is accepting that powerlessness. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people have that step one problem of thinking that, like the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. One day I'm going to be able to pick up again, or
Right.
drink like a normal person after, an allotted amount of time. I've seen it happen in my own life. My uncle, after numerous years of sobriety, he, inevitably he drank, and then it progressed from there, and he overdosed in Salem and passed away.
Right.
After years and years of not drinking, thinking that he could maybe pick up again a drink and think it was going to be normal, and it's just not the case.
Right. Yeah, and when I accept it and I internalize it and I allow it to be the case, I can then, because I'm powerless over a lot of aspects of my life.
Yeah.
But I do have power in certain situations, right? I have the power and the choice whether or not to pray.
Yep.
I have the power and choice whether or not to show up.
Yep.
I have the power and choice whether or not to be of service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do have power and choice. But like,
around my actions.
Right, exactly. I don't have any power or choice over what you do.
No. All you have power over is how you react to that.
Right, exactly. My internal, and it's not, I don't even necessarily have power over my first thought.
No.
But I have power over my second one.
Well, right, because, I mean, how many times in sobriety have you had, an intrusive thought? Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, all the time.
But there's a huge difference between an intrusive thought and the obsession.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's and then I react sanely around that thought.
Exactly.
You know?
So it's just, there's a lot of aspects where, yes, I think a lot of people have a problem with the first step because they have to admit that they're powerless, right? And they have a tough time swallowing that and accepting that and coming to the realization that it is in surrender that I gain strength.
Yeah.
Because in trying to fight alcoholism, directly to alcoholism, in trying to fight physically picking up alcohol for an alcoholic, it's a fruitless fight.
You will lose.
So, but if I can turn my attention to other areas of my life where I do have power, that thing ceases to be a problem.
Right. If I take the necessary actions, I no longer. It's like that thing, people always say, it's like being sober is a byproduct of,
Doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing, dude. If I continue to do the right thing over and over and over again, I remember, someone said to me, he's like, if you keep doing the right thing, then the right things will happen to you and you'll be in the right places.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, and thus far in each of our lives, that has been the case.
That has proven to be true over and over and over and over again.
And it doesn't mean that I've made every right decision over the past, 9 years or so that I've been sober, because I haven't.
No,
you know
of
what
course
I mean?
not.
It is, that would be an impossible feat.
Right.
And if that were sometimes I can trick myself into this space where that is my goal, and that's not a good place to be.
Because then you end up feeling guilty about
everything.
Everything. You know what I mean? I found myself in that space. I was thinking about it recently, actually. I have the capacity to feel guilty about everything that I do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm not... And
every thought that you have.
Every thought that I have, I feel like I shouldn't be thinking that, or whatever the case may be.
Unworthy. Yeah.
Yes,
We're a lot of alcoholics are egomaniacs with an inferiority complex, right?
Exactly.
Nothing... It's where
it makes no sense.
It doesn't,
and it's the weirdest thing. It's externally, I might look like I'm put together. I have this ego. And
I don't know about that, but
you know what I mean. I got a haircut today, Ed. Give me a break. But internally, it's I care about what you think of me, and then am I driving the right car, or am I saying the right things? Is this girl gonna like me? You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Am I good enough?
Am I good enough?
I constantly have this image issue where I need to be the best and I want to be seen as the best, but I want to be the best and I want to be seen as the best because I don't feel like I am the best.
Right. It all comes back to my internal condition of how I feel about myself, because everything else is irrelevant.
Yeah.
At the grand scheme of things, does it matter what other people think of me? I mean, to an extent, like,
I mean,
it doesn't really, you know what I mean? If I'm doing the right thing, it's between me and, you know.
yeah, and the right people will think the right things about you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to like you, you know?
Right.
But like,
And that's okay.
It has to be.
Right.
Because I have no control over what you think about me.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I have control over how I act.
Right.
But your thoughts and what you say about me when I'm not there,
Out of my control.
it's out. It's
Yeah.
hands are up. You know what I mean? Because the more I try to fight that, the more I try to prove it, the more I try to show you what you should think about me, the less I am me and the more miserable I become.
Right. Because you're like, I'm trying to prove to this person they still don't like me. It's like, what am I doing wrong? And,
Yes.
you know, you're putting forth, it's like, you know, you're giving out energy to something that, like, is not being reciprocated and it's unnecessary.
Right.
You know?
But yeah, I think we got onto this powerlessness train, but like, and we have talked about a solution, right, to a great
Yeah.
extent, but it's, for AA, it's trust God, right? It's clean house and serve others.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the background of my phone.
is that really?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So it's not like, and that can seem very, very scary to somebody that like is an atheist or agnostic, but like
Right.
I personally know people that have been sober for, a decade or two or more that still will tell you that they don't know if they believe in God.
Right. Still,
But they pray.
Yeah.
They do the 12-step thing.
Yeah.
Right? And they've made amends, they've done all of it, but it's like, God, if you're there, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
It's not like this unwavering faith.
I mean, I would be a liar if I said that I had this, like, insane amount of faith all the time. You know what I mean? I've absolutely prayed and been like, God, I don't even know if you're real. But if you are, please. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so it's like, it's not like, I think a lot of people get tripped up in this whole realm of AA and 12-step programs in general into thinking that, like, it says we came to believe, and it says this and that, and it has a Christian background, and like, yes, like it does, but
Right.
like practically, I just need a willingness to believe.
That's it. That maybe there's something out there that can save me. Because if there's not, like, I've shown over and over and over again that, like, anything that I rely upon that's of the human nature, it doesn't work for me.
In the end.
Personally. In the end, it doesn't work for
Right.
me personally. I end up in the same spot. And it's just like the best thing I could ever do is just kind of give up.
Well, yeah, and I think it's like, and whether, we are talking a lot about AA here, right? And like, this is unbiased recovery. So like, there are other pathways, right? There are other things, but like, really all of them come down to like this idea of acceptance.
Yes.
Right? This idea of acting differently than you once did, changing your thought process.
Right.
And like, AA gives you this idea of, sort of this ability to change your thought process through prayer and action.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the action of what I see is that the more I act in the right manner, the more right action I take, the easier the right action becomes.
Right, and prayer in itself is an action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm asking to show me guidance to take action. It's like all about action.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just doing different things in my life to, ultimately be a better person and change and be able to not suffer from the obsession.
And like that's what it's all about, right? It's like whatever you need to do to not have to suffer from the idea that like when I'm sober I can't stay that way.
Right.
Whatever you need to do that on a daily basis and be able to be okay and not miserable, because like we are not here to preach like sobriety as the end all be all, right? Like we're not here really to preach at all.
Yeah.
But I want everybody that is suffering from addiction to be able to suffer no longer, right? Not only to be sober, but not suffer.
I had someone say to me that like they like were like, give me like an accolade of being like it's good for you for fighting every day, and I was like, I don't, bro. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. I don't want to. And that's the thing with all of this. It's like, I don't want people to have to fight every day
Right.
to remain sober. I want people to be able to live a normal, healthy, happy life.
Exactly. And that's, that's what we want for all of you. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.